The email arrived at exactly 20:17 a.m. I know the time because for the next 3 years, I would replay that moment in my head almost every day. The subject line looked harmless. Your DNA results are ready. I should have gone back to sleep. Instead, I clicked. 5 minutes later, I was staring at my laptop screen while my entire life fell apart. Because according to the report, my father wasn't my father, and somebody in my family had been lying to me for 32 years. At that moment, I thought that was the biggest secret. I was wrong. By the time everything ended, a missing baby case would be reopened. A body would be discovered. My mother would disappear, and I would learn the horrifying truth about the people I trusted most. My name is Olivia Harper, and this is the story of how a simple DNA test exposed my entire family. I grew up believing I had the perfect family. My father, Robert Harper, was a respected high school principal. My mother, Susan Harper, worked as a nurse. My younger brother Jake was the troublemaker. I was the responsible one. We weren't rich, we weren't famous, but we were close. At least that's what I believed. Looking back now, the warning signs had always been there. I just never noticed them, like how my mother became nervous whenever family history was discussed, or how my father never spoke about his childhood, or why there were almost no photographs from the first 5 years of my life. At the time, none of it seemed important. Then my husband Ethan bought me a DNA ancestry kit as a birthday gift. I laughed when I opened it. Are you trying to tell me I'm adopted? He laughed. No, I just thought it'd be fun. Fun. That word still makes me smile, because nothing about what happened afterward was fun. 3 weeks later, the results arrived. Most of it looked normal. European ancestry, regional heritage, distant relatives. Then I noticed a notification. Close family match found. Curious, I clicked. The profile belonged to a woman named Rebecca Lawson. The relationship estimate read half-sister. I froze. My heart started racing. That had to be a mistake. I didn't have a half-sister. I refreshed the page. Same result. I checked again. Same result. 48% DNA match. The company confirmed it. The science was accurate. Which meant one thing. Someone was hiding something. The next day I drove to my parents' house. I didn't tell them why I was coming. I wanted to see their reaction. When I showed the results to my father, he looked confused. Genuinely confused. But when I showed them to my mother, everything changed. The color drained from her face. Her hands started shaking. And for a brief moment I saw pure fear in her eyes. Not surprise, fear. That terrified me. Mom, she couldn't look at me. Delete those results. I blinked. What? Delete them and forget you ever saw them. The room became silent. My father looked just as shocked as I was. Susan, what's going on? She stood up immediately. I don't want to talk about it. Then she walked away. My father followed her. And for the first time in my life, I heard my parents screaming at each other. That night I barely slept, because I knew something. My mother wasn't hiding a mistake. She was hiding a secret. And secrets that old don't stay buried without a reason. A week later I met Rebecca, the woman from the DNA match. The moment she entered the coffee shop, I almost dropped my cup, because she looked exactly like me, not identical, but close enough to make strangers think we were sisters. Same eyes, same smile, same facial structure. The resemblance was impossible to ignore. Rebecca seemed just as emotional. I've been searching for answers my entire life. I stared at her. What do you mean? Then she told me something unexpected. She had been adopted as an infant. Her adoption records were sealed. Nobody knew who her biological parents were. Until now. Until me. For hours we compared photographs, stories, memories, and the more we talked, the stranger everything became, because several details matched perfectly. Same birth city, same hospital, same year. It couldn't be a coincidence. By the end of lunch, we both knew the truth. We were family. The only question was how. 3 days later, Rebecca called me. Her voice sounded terrified. Olivia, I found something. I drove to her house immediately. When I arrived, she showed me an old newspaper article. The headline read NW Buar Buai Venish Esafram and Dagus 1992. 32 years earlier. The article described how a newborn girl disappeared from a maternity ward. No suspects. No witnesses. No answers. The case eventually went cold. Then Rebecca showed me the photograph attached to the article. My stomach dropped, because the age progression image looked exactly like her. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, she whispered, Olivia. What if I'm that baby? A chill ran through my body. Because suddenly this wasn't just a family mystery anymore. This was potentially a crime. And somebody knew the truth. The question was, who? And why were they willing to hide it for more than 3 decades? Little did I know, The answers were about to become much darker than either of us imagined. The day after Rebecca showed me the newspaper article, my mother disappeared. At first, nobody seemed concerned. My father assumed she needed time alone. My brother thought she was staying with a friend. But I knew better. Because the last time I saw her face, she looked terrified. Not guilty, terrified, as if she knew something terrible was about to happen. 3 days passed, no calls, no messages, nothing. Then my father received an envelope, no return address. Inside was a single handwritten note, stop looking into the past, nothing else. No signature, no explanation. Just 6 words. The moment I read them, I knew this wasn't a family misunderstanding anymore. Someone wanted us to stop asking questions. And that made me even more determined to keep going. Rebecca and I decided to investigate the hospital mentioned in the newspaper article. Most records from 1992 had been archived. The building itself had changed ownership twice. Finding information wasn't easy. But eventually we found a retired nurse named Margaret Ellis. She had worked there during the year the baby disappeared. At first she refused to talk. Then Rebecca showed her the article. The woman's expression changed immediately. After all these years, she whispered. Then she invited us inside. For nearly 2 hours she shared everything she remembered. The missing baby case had terrified the hospital, security failures, police investigations, national media coverage. Everyone searched. Nobody found answers. But then Margaret revealed something strange. A week before the baby vanished, a pregnant woman had been visiting the maternity ward repeatedly. She wasn't a patient. She wasn't staff. Yet she kept appearing. Nobody understood why. Then Margaret showed us an old photograph. My heart nearly stopped. Because the woman in the picture looked exactly like my mother. 2 years younger. But unmistakably her. Rebecca started crying. I couldn't move. Suddenly my mother's fear made sense. She wasn't hiding a family secret. She was connected to the disappearance. To that night I confronted my father. For the first time in my life, he looked completely broken. I showed him the photograph. His hands began shaking. Then he sat down and told me something unbelievable. My mother had been pregnant before she married him. The baby died shortly after birth. Or at least, that's what she had always claimed. Nobody ever questioned the story. Not even him, because grief explained everything. But now, for the first time, he wasn't sure. What if she lied? He whispered. The question haunted both of us. The following week brought another shock. Rebecca's lawyer managed to obtain sealed adoption records through a court order. Inside was the name of the person who arranged the adoption. A woman named Helen Cross. The same woman who happened to be my mother's aunt. I stared at the document. Rebecca stared at the document. Neither of us spoke. The evidence was beginning to point in one direction. A direction I didn't want to believe. Could my mother have stolen a baby? The thought seemed impossible. Yet every clue led back to her. Then the police called. They had found my mother. 100 miles away. Living under a fake name in a motel. When officers questioned her, she immediately requested a lawyer. That terrified me. Innocent people don't usually run. Innocent people don't disappear. Innocent people don't hire lawyers before answering basic questions. For the first time, I began preparing myself for the worst. 2 weeks later my mother finally agreed to meet. The meeting took place inside a lawyer's office. When she entered the room, she looked 20 years older. Exhausted, broken, defeated. I wanted answers. Rebecca wanted answers. Everyone wanted answers. And finally, my mother began talking. The truth was far more complicated than any of us expected. 32 years earlier, she had been unable to have children. Doctors told her pregnancy would never be possible. The news devastated her. Then tragedy struck again. A close friend died during childbirth, leaving behind a newborn baby. That baby was Rebecca. My mother became obsessed with helping, visiting, supporting, caring for the infant, until one day, the child disappeared. Everyone assumed it was a kidnapping, but according to my mother, that wasn't what happened. Someone inside the family secretly arranged an illegal adoption. A wealthy relative. Someone with money. Someone powerful. Someone who wanted the baby hidden. Forever my mother claimed she tried to stop it, but failed. And for decades, she carried the guilt. Rebecca listened silently, then asked one question. Who arranged it? My mother's eyes filled with tears. Then she spoke a name none of us expected. My grandfather. The room became silent. My grandfather, the man everyone admired. The man who died 10 years earlier. According to my mother, he orchestrated everything, using money, connections, influence. The adoption records were altered. Witnesses were pressured. The truth vanished. And everyone involved agreed never to speak again. But there was still a problem, a massive problem, because Rebecca's DNA didn't only connect to me, it connected to someone else too, someone much closer, my brother Jake. When investigators reviewed the results, they discovered Jake and Rebecca shared far more DNA than expected, enough to prove one thing. Rebecca wasn't just my half-sister, she was Jake's full sister, which meant my father wasn't my biological father, and neither was Jake's. The room exploded with questions. My father looked devastated. Jake looked furious. Rebecca looked confused. And my mother finally broke down. For over 30 years she had hidden another secret. Years before marrying my father, she had a relationship with another man. A man named Thomas Reed. Rebecca was his daughter. And so was I. The revelation destroyed everything I thought I knew. My father wasn't my biological father. Yet he had raised me, loved me, protected me. Every childhood memory suddenly felt different. Yet somehow, his love became even more meaningful. Because it wasn't biology, it was choice. 2 months later investigators uncovered the final truth. Rebecca had never been kidnapped. The hospital story had been manipulated. Documents had been altered. The media had been messled. A powerful family member wanted the child hidden from public scandal, and everyone else spent decades protecting that lie. The DNA test exposed all of it. Every secret, every deception, every buried truth. 1 year later, Rebecca officially became part of our family. My father remained my father. Because blood alone doesn't create family. Love does. My mother spent years rebuilding trust. Some relationships recovered. Others never fully healed. But at least the truth finally existed. And sometimes, the truth is worth the pain. Because lies can survive for decades. But eventually, the truth always finds a way home.